Hey, it's JT,
And Mike.
hosts of Brew Crime.
And we've got some exciting news for you.
Mark your calendars for July 12th to 14th, 2024.
We're heading to the True Crime and Paranormal Podcast Festival in Denver, Colorado, and you won't want to miss it.
Are you worried about costs? Fear not. This festival is designed with you in mind, an affordable experience without sacrificing quality.
There are no inflated costs, just a weekend packed with authenticity, education, and networking.
Have you ever wished for genuine one-on-one interactions with your favorite creators? Well, now is your chance.
Save 15% off your ticket price by using the code BREWS at checkout.
You know, those things you need after listening to us for an hour? Well, at least me.
We hope to see you there and let them know.
Brew Crime sent you. Head over to truecrimepodcastfestival.com.
Welcome to Brew Crime, the podcast where we drink brews, talk crime, conspiracies, or whatever catches our attention. This is Mike and my co-host.
JT. It's me.
Woohoo! I almost forgot to even say the intro. Sitting
Yeah.
here blank stare.
But they never would have known it if you didn't say it.
I know, and I might cut this anyways. We'll
was gonna
see. Outtakes.
Oh gosh. Man, I'm excited for this series. We if you missed it in the very beginning, we're going to Denver for the True Crime Paranormal Podcast Festival, and we're really excited about it. And so we decided to do the theme of Denver.
Denver crimes.
Yes.
So just in time to go to Denver, we're going to talk about some scary people in Denver.
Hopefully both or all are away. I know mine is.
Right. We'll get to
I
mine
hope-
later, yes.
Oh geez. Oh God. Okay. Well, I'll be looking over my back. Forget that.
Oh
I'm
no,
just
you don't have
gonna-
to worry. You don't have to worry.
Oh, okay, good. Okay. Fantastic. I'm very excited to go to Denver. I've heard very good things. I've heard Denver's
So
one of
have
those
I.
places where you could ask somebody if they could point something out to you in terms of where to go, and like they will help you. So
Yeah. And it's a mile
Um,
high, I hear too.
yes, I'm very in many ways. In many ways.
Yes.
I'm psyched. I love going to new places, and this happens to be one place in the country that I have not been. So
I have
ready.
landed in their airport before.
I might have been to
Last
their
year.
airport, but never in the actual city. So I'm
Yes.
psyched to explore and get to hang out with my good buddy Mike and my other good buddy
Yeah.
Terry. So
Woohoo!
it's only taken what 5 years?
No, exactly. And there's going to be other really cool podcasters there too.
Yes.
Let's pull up just to remember some of them.
Oh, right.
So we've got Canadian True Crime is going to be there from Ontario.
Hey yo.
That's awesome. I did not know they were coming. Wine and Crime,
Okay, listen.
True Crime Bullshit.
Let's see.
Us,
Let me take a
obviously.
look.
Malice and Mocktails are good friends. CJ with Beyond the Rainbow will be there.
Did you say Big Mad True Crime?
Did not say them. Autumn's Oddities.
Generation
Trying to pick some of
Y?
the ones we know. True Consequences
yeah.
will be there. Eric.
Let's see. Yes, he will. I'm
Defense
excited to have
Diaries
a
will be there
reach out
again
to
this
him.
year with Bob Mata. Yeah, Santa may be a criminal.
I mean, there's a lot of people they've added since I looked last.
Yeah, I know, right? True Crime and
Oh my
Wine
gosh.
Time, your other show.
Mystery Inc. I don't know them, but I want to be their friend, considering their album cover.
Yeah, there's lots of good shows coming. It's really seemed to have grown in the last couple weeks since I logged on here.
Oh, Dos Pequeños, which is also Eric.
Yes. Which is I think it's just Eric again, probably.
What is Tara's Baddie Club? I don't know, but it looks fun.
I don't know either. I guess we'll find out.
Oh, she's the survivor of the Dirty John Meehan case.
Oh, geez.
Interesting. Fascinating. A lot going
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's
Awesome.
going
So
to be
there's a
something
lot
fun to
happening.
look forward to. Lots of people.
Lots of people. I feel like it grew
Hmm.
by like a third since the last time I logged in.
The same here. Yeah.
Cool.
Exciting.
Anyways, we're psyched. We hope you're psyched. You should come.
All right. Well, you want to jump into it,
Let's do it.
senor?
Before we hop right on into it, something that's interesting to me, yes, is, I looked up a few fun facts about Denver. I feel like we should get to know a little bit about Denver. It's
Yes.
nothing like population and stuff. These are actually fun facts. You can
Ah,
tell me
like
whether you
cannabis
need
and
them or not.
alcohol? No.
Well, it is part of the fun facts. Um,
Nice. I knew it.
so Luis Ballast, who operated the Humpty Dumpty Barrel Drive-In in Denver, right, was the first person to trademark the cheeseburger.
Wow. I didn't know that was a trademarked thing.
I didn't either. The first permanent structure in Denver was not a hospital, bank, or house. It was a saloon.
I was gonna say brothel, but saloon works.
We got to find that. It has to exist, right? The first
Yeah.
saloon. It's got to. Denver brews more beer than any other city in the nation, with over 200 different beers brewed daily.
Damn.
Let's see. Denver has been named the baby boomer capital of America, boasting a higher number of baby boomers than any other U.S. city.
Okay, boomer.
All right. Denver has the largest city park system in the nation with 14,000 acres of mountain parks and 2,500 acres of natural areas.
That's awesome.
Yes. Let's see. One more. Let's find a good one. Okay. When viewed from above, the 400,000 pieces of granite paving on the pedestrian walkway of the 16th Street Mall resemble the skin of a western diamondback rattlesnake,
Wow.
which is really cool.
Uh-huh.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. So a lot of cool stuff, a lot of good things. Okay.
Hmm.
So this case I'm calling whole lot of hanky panky going on, the missing case of Joelle Mathews. So I don't usually do missing cases, but this one was interesting to me and it's solved. So, it's the unknown that it's not that I'm not into. I think they're very important. I'm just not very good at covering them. So I
Yeah,
know
they're
my
hard to
strengths.
cover.
Yeah. In every town, there are stories that go untold, stories that linger in the whispers of the wind, in the quiet corners of our minds, and in the hearts of those who remember. This is one of those stories. Joelle Mathews was more than a name in the papers, more than a face on a missing poster. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend. She was a bright light in the lives of those who knew her. But on one ordinary night in December, that light was extinguished. Joelle vanished without a trace, leaving behind only questions and heartache. In a town where everyone knows everyone, the disappearance of Joelle shook the community to its core. It was a mystery that would test the bonds of family and friendship. What happened to Joelle Mathews, and how does someone disappear without a single clue? But this story is not just one of loss. It's a story of resilience, of a community coming together, and of the unyielding human spirit that refuses to give up hope on the search for answers and ultimately justice. I'm proud of that.
Yeah, no doubt. That sounds like it was written for a TV show, like Unsolved
Yeah.
Mysteries
I got
or 60 Minutes or something.
creative. Right? I got creative this time around. Um, First, let's talk a little bit about the victim, shall we? I think that's the important
Please.
part here. Joelle Mathews was born February 9th, 1972 in Santa Barbara, California, to who I believe was reported as a 13-year-old.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I know. Joelle ended up being put up for adoption, and she was adopted as an infant by Jim and Gloria Mathews. They provided her a stable and nurturing environment. Her family was known for its close-knit nature and strong community ties. She grew up in Greenlee, Colorado, Greenlee is just an hour north of Denver, so I could still consider it in Denver
Yeah.
region. The family moved there when she was super young. She attended Franklin Middle School at the time. She was an active and well liked student. She was known for her bright personality, enthusiasm, and warm smile. She had a variety of interests and hobbies. She loved music, sang in the school choir. She loved singing and performing and was seen participating in school events and concerts. Her favorite song was The Sun Will Come Out Tomorrow from the musical Annie, which
She sounds like you, but female.
she does a little bit, doesn't she? She
Yep.
really does.
All the
She
musical, the
was
singing, all that stuff.
right.
Maybe even Annie.
Um,
I
I
don't
just
know.
I just got my kids into a couple of songs from Rent, and they're digging that. So I was like, success.
Yeah, no doubt.
She was super optimistic and hopeful. Active. They were active members of the local church. Her parents instilled values in her, and they emphasized kindness, community service, and resilience. Her father, Jim Mathews, was a principal at a local high school, and her mother, Gloria, was involved in a variety of community activities. The family was supportive and encouraging, always prioritized their daughter's education and extracurricular activities. She also had an older sister, Jennifer, who was a big influence, providing her guidance and companionship. At the school, she was known for her academic diligence and active participation in school activities. She was always eager to learn and help others, said her teachers. They also said she was cooperative and she was willing to take on responsibilities. She had a close group of friends that shared similar interests, and she enjoyed sports and was a member of the school's volleyball team. Her friends remember her as kind-hearted and as a cheerful person who brought joy to those around her. So she just sounds awesome.
Yeah, it sounds like she sounds awesome. Her family sounds awesome. Just yeah, sounds like
Yeah,
great people.
I mean, usually when we bring a case and we hear that somebody's adopted, we're just immediately going like we expect the worst. Just
Yeah.
because of the topics that we cover. However, not in this case. So the world turned upside down when Janelle was 12 on December 20th, 1984. She was dropped off at home by her friend's father around 8:15 p.m. after her holiday concert. Her father was at her sister's basketball game, and her mother was out of state visiting relatives. Again, this is 1984.
Yeah.
Her dad returned home around 9:30 p.m. to an empty house. There was no sign of struggle or disturbance, but she wasn't there. The family thought she might have gone to visit a neighbor or a friend, but as time passed, they grew increasingly concerned. By 10 p.m., only 30 minutes later, the police were notified and a search commenced. So I think that time frame's reasonable. It's enough time to call around, see if
Yeah.
anybody's seen her, but then boom, call the police, right?
Yeah, this
Um,
isn't the day of cell phones where it's like super easy to find someone.
yeah, and I think because they were so involved in the community, well, I'd be interested to see if they were less involved, if the police would hop right to it, if they'd
Yeah.
say, "Hey, you got to wait 24 hours or whatever." But he was a principal, and they were super involved, so I
Yeah.
have a feeling that probably helped a little bit.
Could be, yeah.
So Greeley police swiftly initiated an investigation. The initial search of the home revealed no signs of forced entry or struggle, which complicated the investigation from the outset. Within the first 24 hours, officers, along with neighbors and volunteers, combed through the local area. They conducted door to door inquiries, hoping to find anyone who might have seen or heard something unusual. Flyers with her photograph were distributed widely, and local media coverage was extensive. Still, no substantial leads existed. So, throughout the investigation, there were a series of challenges. One, as mentioned before, and will be mentioned again, there was a complete absence of physical evidence. Like no fingerprints, no signs of struggle, made it difficult for investigators to determine whether she had left willingly or had been taken by force. And on top of that, the initial lack of witnesses further compounded this challenge. Early on, investigators explored various leads and suspects, including individuals known to the Mathews family and neighbors. Several people were questioned. No significant breakthroughs occurred. Tips from
Yeah.
the public were followed up on, but none provided any actionable information that they could
No, for
actually
sure.
push.
And you're going to always go with people they know first, because almost always when people go missing, it's someone they know.
Yeah, or sadly family, right?
Yeah. Well, it's minimum someone they know usually. Usually
Yeah,
it's, yeah, either family or someone very close to the
very
family.
close. Exactly. So the investigation went frigid, like cold as hell. Weeks turned into months, and then months turned into years, which I can't even not having an answer one way or another. And then
Yeah.
maybe assuming or coming to the conclusion yourself that something the worst happened, but then also not having confirmation has got to be just horrible. Um,
100%.
the case garnered widespread media attention, both locally and nationally. Programs like America's Most Wanted featured Janelle's story, keeping her case in the public eye and generating numerous tips. Despite this attention, none of the tips led to a breakthrough. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, there were advances in forensic technology, including DNA testing, which provided new tools for investigators. The case was reviewed periodically as new techniques came out, but without an actual crime scene and then without significant evidence from the crime scene, those advancements are of absolutely no help at all. They had nothing.
Yeah. That's awful.
Yeah, so this is literally one of those cases where even with advancements, if nothing was left and nothing was collected, you can't run any tests on it.
Yeah.
Um,
100%.
so throughout the years, Janelle's family remained active in keeping her memory alive and advocating for continued attention to her case, which good for them because that's exhausting, I'm sure.
Yeah.
The community remained engaged as well, which I'm sure was a huge boon, a huge help. They held annual vigils and community events with the goal of reminding everyone about Janelle's disappearance. Now, sometimes things happen, and you wonder how. After years and years with no answers, on July 23rd, 2019, construction workers installing a pipeline in a rural area of Weld County, Colorado, discovered human remains. The location
Holy shit.
was, yeah, yeah. The location was 15 miles from her home.
Wow. So close.
Yeah. Forensic testing confirmed it was her. And at this point, she had been missing for 35 years and was 15 miles down the road.
And how old was she when she died again?
She was 12.
Yeah. So, wow.
Um, and in investigating and in looking at the remains, it showed evidence of a gunshot wound to the head, which implies homicide.
Hell yeah, it does.
So there was a renewed investigation. With the discovery, the investigation gathered momentum. Authorities revised the statements of many, but primarily they started focusing on a man by the name of Steve Pankey. Also, why I called it Hanky Panky.
Yes.
Um, he was, oh, this guy is something else. I can't wait to get into some of this with you. He specifically the political side. He was a former Greeley resident who had long been a person of interest due to his unusual interest in the case and his contradictory statements over the years.
Oh, Mr. Hanky.
So, Stephen Dana Pankey was born on November 2nd, 1951 in Ventura, California. Little is known about his early life upbringing and family background. I think it's safe to say that things were pretty uneventful. There was nothing really to report, nothing crazy. As an adult, he ended up moving to Greeley, Colorado. He held various jobs, including working as a janitor and security guard. He briefly attended community college. One source said that he didn't earn a degree, and another said he did. So I'm not sure, but it's pretty inconsequential at this point.
Yeah.
He did get married and he did have children, but his personal life was a mess. He experienced multiple marriages and divorces, with his relationships marked by conflict and instability. I know I say this a lot on this podcast, but tale as old as time.
Yeah, right.
These personal difficulties contributed to a portrait of somebody who struggled to find stability. And honestly, I don't think he really wanted those relationships. I think he wanted to look normal. I think he wanted to check some boxes, right?
Like a
now
beer.
That's just me. Right, exactly.
Yeah. If you don't know what that
A
is, it's
beard.
a, a gay person having what looks like a straight partner to hide the fact that they're gay is what a beard is
Yes,
usually.
usually for the family. It's
Or for
exhausting.
traveling, a travel. I forget who it is. Someone I know had a travel beard, like a travel wife that they traveled together all the time, but one was lesbian, one was a gay man, but they
That's
were travel partners.
but that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, and I'm drawing a blank on who it was now.
Ah, that's great. So here's what's really interesting. Pankey had an interest in local politics. He ran for public office several times. He actually ran for governor of Idaho in 2014.
Wow.
Now he earned 1.2% of the vote there. He ran for governor in
Odd
2008.
living in Colorado, but going for Idaho was kind of odd.
Well, he moved to Idaho.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I should have said that he ended up moving to Idaho in between that time
Okay.
period.
That makes sense then. Okay. I get it
Yes,
now.
so he also ran in 2018. He earned 1.4% of the vote. And then he ran for lieutenant governor. Well, sorry, and earlier than that, he ran for lieutenant governor in 2010, in which he earned 13.6% of the Republican primary election vote. He ran under GOP, but also Constitutional Party,
Hmm.
which I would imagine is exactly what we think it is, word
It,
for word.
probably part of the Freedom Caucus now.
Pudding. His campaigns were, as you can tell, largely unsuccessful. He was considered a fringe candidate with little support or influence.
Freedom Caucus.
His right, I think he was running at the wrong time. I think if he ran now, he
Yeah.
actually he probably could run from prison and still win. As we see lately. His political ambitions and public statements drew attention due to their unconventional nature, reflecting his idiosyncratic personality and beliefs. So his top three priorities, which are literally the most watered down priorities I've ever heard: return Idaho to the God of the Bible and constitutional principles,
Oh,
limit Idaho
Jesus.
state spending to constitutional limits, create a safe and moral Idaho. If you couldn't hear it, I did, and that was the sound of Mike's eyes rolling to the back of his head.
I think I vomited in my mouth a little bit too. Yes.
Like, your priority is to create a safe and moral Idaho, but how are you planning on doing that? There's no plans. So,
By banning people's rights. Come on now.
probably. Yeah, for sure. I can't wait to get ready. Public policy he was passionate about. He said limited state government and limited spending. A lot of mischief is stopped by limited spending.
Oh
Mischief.
my God.
Is he
Idle
Rocky or Bullwinkle?
hands.
We've got to end the
Fucking
mischief,
hell.
Rocky. That's right, Bullwinkle. I'm here to talk to the president about the trees. I am embarrassed that I can kind of do that. Other issues
That
that
was
were
pretty good.
found, other issues that were found on his official campaign website: education, make Idaho schools #1 in the nation for effective, efficient education. He opposed. Now, okay, there
Actually,
are
that
some
doesn't
things
sound
that
very Republican right there. That sounds actually
no.
that's too
This
smart to be.
his education portion is actually not very Republican.
Yeah.
He also opposed Common Core. He supports non-traditional learning programs, and he supports students wanting vocational careers to apprentice in a specific vocation in lieu of high school, which is not
Wow.
very conservative at all.
No, it's
Um,
not.
he would resist any attempt by any government agency to willfully void or reduce earned benefits to Idaho veterans and their survivors. I don't think there's anybody doing that, but he said it. Here's where here's where the conservative comes in. He says he supports small business, farm, and ranch government deregulation, but he also supports fair and level, uniform, low rate business tax across all industries, favoring none, penalizing none.
Oh God, there we go.
There it is. Um, so in order to limit spending in 2018, he said he wanted to defund abortion, defund decadence, defund Common Core, defund George Soros programs. Now, I had to look up what George Soros programs were.
Yeah.
And by the way, this further puts him to the right. George Soros programs, also known as Open Society Foundations, they financially support civil society groups around the world with the stated aim of advancing justice, education, public health, and independent media. So,
Hmm.
uh-huh.
That
Um,
sounds pretty good, actually.
but he wanted to defund them. So,
Hmm. I mean,
uh,
those things sounded pretty good. Yeah.
right. They sounded tasty. So, Pankey had made several unsolicited statements to law enforcement and in public forums about Janelle's case. He had also attempted to insert himself into the investigation in various ways, which raised suspicions. Now, on October 12th, 2020, Stephen Pankey was arrested in Idaho and charged with the kidnapping and murder of Joelle Mathews. His charges included first-degree murder after deliberation. I don't really know entirely what that means, other than maybe there was a grand jury deliberation and that's what
Yeah.
that means. I'd have to look that up. You think I
New to
would have
me.
first degree felony murder as well and second degree kidnapping. He was extradited to Colorado to face the charges. The prosecution and defense filed various pretrial motions, including motions to admit or exclude certain pieces of evidence and witness testimonies. But I kind of want to talk a little bit about prosecution, about defense, and then kind of wrap up the trial portion. We're not going
Hmm.
to get too deep into the weeds, I promise. So the prosecution's opening, they started by presenting an overview of the case. They highlighted Pankey's suspicious behavior and statements over the years, and they emphasized the lack of physical evidence. So they admitted that, but they pointed to Pankey's actions and words as indicative of his guilt. Now, in terms of evidence and testimony, some of the main themes: one, suspicious behavior. They detailed Pankey's unusual interest in the case, including his unsolicited statements to law enforcement and attempts to involve himself in the investigation. Two, contradictory statements. They presented evidence of Pankey's inconsistent accounts of his whereabouts on the night of Janelle's disappearance, suggesting he was trying to cover up his involvement. Three, statements made to others. Testimonies from individuals who had interacted with Pankey over the years were presented. These individuals recounted Pankey making cryptic comments about Janelle's disappearance, indicating knowledge only the perpetrator could have. And then finally, circumstantial evidence, which the prosecution focused on. They argued that while there was no direct physical evidence linking him, the accumulation of his behaviors and statements pointed towards his guilt. Uh,
Hmm.
as much as I don't like this guy, that's a very tenuous case.
It
um,
is pretty tenuous. Yeah. The fact that he has a lot of information that he really shouldn't have is
that
damning.
yes,
Very damning. Other than that, yeah, it is tenuous.
my guess is that they focused a lot on that, um,
Hmm.
and therefore the jury focused a lot on that. So the defense argued that there in the opening that there was no direct evidence. They claimed that Pankey's behavior. I would love for my lawyer to say this. Although Pankey's behavior, while unusual, was not indicative of guilt and could be attributed to his eccentric personality. Hmm. Evidence. So evidence and testimonies on that side. Again, one, no physical evidence. There was no DNA. There were no fingerprints connecting him. They argued without that, the prosecution's case was speculative. The defense said that they had an alibi for Pankey, suggesting he wasn't in the vicinity of the home on the night of Janelle's disappearance. They also contended that Pankey's statements had been misinterpreted or taken out of context, leading to the inaccurate, different accounts. The
Hmm.
defense also called character witnesses to testify about his personality and behavior, aiming to demonstrate that his peculiar actions were not indicative of criminal activity, but rather his inherent eccentricity. Uh, both sides engaged in rigorous cross examinations, as you could imagine. Um, and then, believe it or not, Stephen Pankey took the stand in his own defense.
That's never a good idea.
Not a great one, no.
Like, I'm
Uh,
not guilty or not, it's never a good idea because they'll find a way to make you look bad.
Oh yeah, and he did. So the prosecution grilled him for his contradictory statements of behavior. Pankey maintained his innocence. He claimed that his interest in the case was due to his political ambitions and personal curiosity, not guilt. There's nothing better, nothing says politician more than I'm interested in this missing persons case of decades, because I have political ambitions.
Yeah.
um, so closing arguments were very similar to the opening. The defense said that the prosecution didn't meet the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. The jury deliberated for several days, though, to consider all of this. It was a complex web of circumstantial evidence, testimonies, and his own statements. Apparently, the deliberation was super intense. But in November of 2021, the judge found Stephen Pankey guilty of first-degree murder and second-degree kidnapping. The verdict was a huge moment in this case, and he was ultimately sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Well, I hope he is guilty, because if he is, that is the perfect sentence.
Correct. So in conclusion, the case of Joelle Mathews stands as the ultimate reminder of the profound impact of unsolved disappearances on families and communities. Over the decades, the persistent efforts of law enforcement, advancements in forensic technology, unwavering hope of Janelle's loved ones have kept her memory alive and propelled the search for answers. Now, although forensic technology didn't directly impact this case, because there were updates in it, it kept bringing them back to retest or relook at.
Yeah.
So it kept it in the forefront rather than being back in a spiderweb infested like closet. While recent developments have brought some measure of closure, the journey really emphasizes the importance of continued vigilance, collaboration, innovation in addressing cases of missing persons. Her story, Janelle's story, marked by both sorrow, resilience, remains a testament to the enduring quest for justice. Joelle will always be remembered for her vibrant spirit, her love of music, and the unfulfilled promise of a life that held much, much potential. And that is the case of Joelle Mathews.
Jeez. Well, I really hope, like I said, that they caught the right guy. They probably did, just because of his inside knowledge and his weird insertion into the case all of the time. But, I would hate to find out he isn't the right guy, and then them to have to, the family have to go through that again.
One thing that
to
I
not
didn't,
know.
yeah, one thing that I didn't put in here, and that's primarily because I could only find it in one spot. But what's interesting is that when Joelle went missing, he decided to take his kids and family on a very fast, like last minute trip out of state.
Oh, yeah, that sounds guilty.
And while I can't confirm it, apparently he also spent the entire trip listening to the coverage of the case on the radio.
Sounds suspect. Yeah.
Yeah, and like I said, I didn't put it in there because in like the case proper, because I can't really confirm or deny it, but I did find it in one place. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting case. I do what I found most interesting is that there was a conviction, and that makes me happy. What's fascinating is just how loose the prosecution's case was. But with some of the things, I could see how the jury would be immediately swayed, right?
Yeah.
Just really, really interesting. And the fact that I'd never heard about it. Not once have I ever heard this before. You'd think I'd hear about somebody named Stephen Pankey.
Yeah, 100%. I listened to a lot of true crime, and I've never heard that case before.
So no more hanky panky going on.
Nope.
Well, maybe there is, but it's in prison and he's not liking it. So
yes, 100%.
All right. Well, that's it.
Thanks for tuning in to Brew Crime. You can find us on all social media platforms at Brew Crime. We have a Facebook group at Brew Crime the Group. If you'd like to support the show, head to patreon.com/brewcrime now. The money goes towards upgrading the equipment and making the show that much better. You get one bonus episode a month, as well as early ad-free access to our episodes. Just shout out to our Patreon supporters, True Crime Nana, 3 Beers In Podcast, and the Faves of Our Lives. Bye! All cases on Brew Crime are written by Mike and JT or a writer we credit on the episode, and sources are put into our show notes for each episode. We always want to give credit to the people that research the cases we talk about. Check out our store at tpublic.com/stores/brew-crime-podcast, where you can purchase gear like t-shirts, phone cases, stickers, pillows, and all kinds of other cool stuff. Brew Crime's intro was created by Mike using Creative Commons Attribution Licensed Audio from purple-planet.com, soundbible.com, and freesoundeffects.com. Logo designed by Ben Greenberg. Thanks for listening to this episode of Brew Crime Podcast.
I gotta pick and choose which songs right now. That wasn't Flying Ant.
Oh, wow.
Sorry.
It's mating season, I guess.
Yeah, they apparently wanted to hump my hand. Jeez. I'm doing something important, ants.
Maybe start
Okay.
that sentence again.
Yes. Despite
Ant
this
humper.
attention, he was
Yes.
considered a fringe case. I said that. Whew. I shift F7 that. I did not. I had a word and then I decided I needed a better one.
Well, that was a good one.
Idiosyncratic. Guilty of first the jury. Sorry, not judge.
Right? There we go.
Bullwinkle Jane Moose. No, not that one. Okay.